They tried to do the same thing to Iran. They couldn't. But that doesn't mean they're not going to try again, depending. So, of course, again, let me just go to not the glory of this mission, but the ridiculousness of and the psychopathical pattern of Trump administration. Maduro, for the last 10 years or so, have always wanted to deal with the United States and sell its oil and get money. It's not that Maduro wanted to keep its oil, just like Iran. Iran wants to deal with foreign companies and sell their oil with no sanction, and they actually give huge discount if Exxon and Chevron and BP and Total and all the rest would come and buy their oil. So that's not the question. Maduro was talking about that, yes, please come invest in our oil industries. Iran says the same thing.
Yes.
So this is kidnapping him, bringing him handcuffed, shackled, marching him in front of cameras, in front of the world, has a different message to it. The message, not that it's useful, because they could have done it behind the closed doors and say, listen, we want a better deal. And Maduro would give it to them. But what they want to do is to show Iran and rest of the world that what this US capability is. They want to scare many of these leaders to submission. Some countries will do it. Some countries won't. Some countries can't. Like Iran, there is no one leadership. They can't do the same thing to Iranian leadership, because what they're going to do? They're going to just kidnap Ayatollah Khamenei. So what? What's going to happen? Nothing going to happen. Nothing going to change.
Iran is like former Soviet Union. There is not just one person. It's a system. It's not
exactly. And they didn't even do the same thing in Venezuela, because now the vice president is the president.
It's unbelievable.
In fact, they spend millions and millions of dollars, and promoters and fans of Reza Pahlavi should learn this. U.S. spent millions of dollars to bring this Maria Machado, and to elect him as elected president of Venezuela. And they gave her that stupid Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, and all of that. Then they changed the leadership. They went and they kidnapped Maduro. Who did they put in? Not her.
No.
Trump didn't even want to meet her.
No, didn't.
Then he had to meet her in order to just settle some of these conversations. That's it. They rather deal with Delcy Rodriguez. You see, if I was Reza Pahlavi, I would say, oh, please, if there is a chance for leadership change in Iran, if there is, it's not going to be U.S. I don't want to use vulgarity, but it's just so, they won't talk to you. His life is in danger. In Vietnam, 2 Vietnamese leaders in South Vietnam complied with the U.S. And when U.S. didn't want them and wanted to negotiate and wanted to separate, they killed both brothers. It's not the first time, it's not the last time. I don't know why that came to my mind, but it's been so much like that. You guys, people should remember Ahmad Chalabi.
Yes.
You should, Reza Pahlavi should remember Shah, King of Afghanistan, Zahir Shah. What happened to him?
Yes.
They didn't take him, and they didn't put him. They put their own man Karzai in power.
Yes. Yes.
not him. Why in the hell does he not learn? Kissinger said one time, and the Kurds do the same thing now, and they have done it for so long. The
Yes.
Kurdish leadership is just so disconnected from reality and so uninformed by history. You know how many times Kurds have been massacred because they feel that, oh my God, we're going to rely on one imperial power to help us create autonomy or independence, and then later on they get massacred. It's happened so many times. If I want to go over it's not just off the top of my head, all the names and dates, but I could, anybody who's got half of an intelligence, they could go and read it. Reza Pahlavi should learn, and I know I deviated from the main subject, should learn why that. And Kissinger said something so sadistically, but so true, so sadistically um, true in a sense. What can I say? He said, it is true that nations should learn. Let me think about it. To be the enemy of the United States is certainly dangerous, but to be its allies, it's fatal, it's deadly. That's his direct quotation. Reza Pahlavi should know that once they have their aim in Iran and they have a regime change or leadership change, they would have him killed. He I'm telling, I'm so sorry for, his fans and this romanticization of what's going on. In this world of the jungly world of monsters ruling the whole world, and they are relying on monsters to come and save them and to be their saints and saviors. How ironic and how uninformed this is. But anyway,
And
so
back to this that you said, for example, you mentioned something very interesting for me. China is rising and gaining and more power. And so, even applying this doctrine, so I did understand you correctly, they cannot keep up with competition coming from China or other areas. I did understand you correctly. So, no matter what the United States does, it is going to lose this economic battle, if I may call so.
we don't know what's going to happen for the long term. But with this game, this strategic game of trying to dominate at least a part of the world. This is the Donroe Doctrine,
Yes.
and to deprive China from some of the key elements and create spheres of influence where the U.S., because of its military domination, determines the leadership and the regime, and it can be more profitable. At best, if it succeed for for a while, it would fail on its own because it's going to be very, very, very costly. It will not work. And then at the same time, it's going to empower China even more. Why? Because China is choosing its own battle. It's not fighting the battle, the militaristic battle that the US is doing it. Like in Venezuela, so what if they take Venezuela? Let them go and take it and get stuck there. Let that be another little Vietnam for them. China is going to do just as well without Venezuela. And then how much stronger can US be with Venezuelan oil? It's not going to deprive China of oil unless they take all the oil fields. But what are they going to do with Russia? They're going to bring Iran and Russia closer to China with this move with Venezuela. Because there is glut of oil right now in the world. What do you need it for? You don't need oil. China can do without Venezuela oil. China can do it without Iranian oil. But these moves are creating their own momentum, and let them just keep $100 million or $10 million, something like that, a huge number of military armada in everywhere that there is oil. Venezuela, I mean, Nigeria is another one. But if
Nigeria.
they control these places, you think they're not going to have? And this is short term. This is short term because China is working on renewable energy, and in the next 15 years, they're going to be with Russia alone. They would not need any more fossil fuel, thank God.
Yes, yes,
It's,
absolutely.
it's, these people don't understand the long term strategy. Of course, domination can work, but it's costly.
Good
It's
point.
costly.
It's a very good point. Professor Sharifi, another, because we are talking about Donroe Doctrine, why all this US interest in Greenland? Last time I checked, Europe is an ally of the United States. Why does the US all of a sudden, or is it all of a sudden? I'm sure it's not, but huge interest in Greenland. Could you just explain this to our viewers, please?
Yes, it's got several dimensions to this one. One is, again, US is moving away from being the leader of the so-called liberal internationalist world. It is because it's failing. And some of the US elites, including capitalists, not all of them, not all of them, this is to be determined in the future, not all of them. Some, they think US is better off to become isolationistic
Oh,
and create spheres of influence for itself and survive this transition, which Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, properly called it rupture. The US led leadership of liberal internationalism, the liberal empire, the empire of the United States that has been built since World War II, is collapsing. And in this collapse, Trump and many people around him think that NATO is not useful anymore. It costs more money and it doesn't do anything. It can't do anything for
yes,
it,
true.
because Europe is irrelevant, has become irrelevant. In that sense, they think they don't need it. NATO is not necessary. They don't want to be enemies with Europe necessarily, but they want to dominate it. They want to sell to it, and they want to just create their own world. This is one faction of Trump, and some of them are actually Democrats too. So it's not Republicans and Democrats. This return back to the shore and protect your interests where you can, and don't expand too much. So this is one. So Greenland is a great place to take over because it creates its resources, oil, shipping, defense, and all that. But there is another with Greenland at this point in time. We cannot ignore another dimension, which is not a strategic or long term, or it's uncontroversial. What is not controversial in this sense, the psychopathic tendencies, the say the narcissistic 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 tendencies of the Trump administration. Trump administration wants sort of keep its base at home by expanding America, the idea of American expansionist exceptionalism. It's been around for a long time that America is God will to rule the world. And whichever president jump on that, it shows America is great, is masculine, is vital, and is powerful. And power and strength is the morality or the moral foundation of the American empire. So taking the Greenland, which is pretty easy,
Yeah, of
they are
course.
there already. They're already there.
Yes.
They have a base there and they could be there forever. But it's not for strategic purposes as much as making America great again, because they can't make America great again by making it more democratic, providing health care, providing better roads, better infrastructure, better privacy, better schooling, better technical, better production. So, how do you make America great again? By conquest. And of course, this makes a whole lot of people, very, again, an informed nationalist people in America, pretty much like, the whole idea that a whole lot of people in Iran love Nader Shah because he was a conqueror. Not that Nader Shah did anything for Iran or Iranians or
Yes.
improved or created any institution that lasted. He was a military man and expanded. And now, 200 years later, many Iranians say, oh man, Nader Shah the Great. So Trump wants to make himself great and by proxy make America great. So this got psychological and sociological aspect to it beside international. But some people, even in the Trump administration, they think that NATO is valuable and Greenland should not be taken over. And liberal internationalism, in fact, should continue. U.S. should tighten its alliance with NATO and try to isolate Russia and separate them from China. And in that sense, these arguments goes on, these differences goes on. The American foreign policy establishment actually is not against NATO. They love NATO, and they want to keep NATO, and to keep NATO alive and European alive and relevant, that means a fight with Russia,
Yeah.
which it creates its own problem.
May I say, or is it correct to assume that the way they depicted or expected the war or the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, or let me just call it confrontation with Russia, did not work the same way they had expected? Am I correct?
Oh, 100%. By
Yes.
every means, by so many different metrics, this was a disastrous policy that began with Obama administration, began with actually George Bush II. The
Okay.
idea of expansion of NATO has backfired in 2006 or 7 in Munich conference, security conference. Putin told them, and everybody got upset with Putin that there are red lines, and he proved it in Georgia. And it just went on. And then when they had that 2014 coup in Ukraine, they thought, oh wow, we got it. We made a coup, and Ukraine now is going to be a part of NATO and EU economy. And
Professor
what happened
Sharifi, you might love
immediately?
to hear that. When it happened, I was in Kiev because University of Kiev invited us for a conference. So we were taking part in conference, and all of a sudden that happened, and Yanukovych fell. So there was a curfew. We couldn't leave the country. So I was in an academic conference during that time. Just
Yeah, that's
what a
interesting.
coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. But going back to the point that the coup was supposed to be successful. It was supposed to be a winner. And
Yeah.
what happened? Of course, Russia immediately took Crimea.
They did. Yes.
And then right away, for 7 years, US was providing arms and weaponizing Ukraine. And then, of course, the problem for the East. And of course, at that time, again, Russia came to the table in Minsk I and Minsk II treaty. They agreed to have some kind of regional autonomy for Luhansk, region.
Yes.
But they could have done it. They could have agreed to a sort of semi-autonomous region that would be a buffer zone for Russia. But they didn't agree to it. They sabotaged it. And US sabotaged it. And of course, what happened now? Russia is there already. They don't need autonomy. Now it's going to be a part of Russia. It's written, and of course they said from the very beginning, oh, Russia 6 months they're not gonna last. They're not gonna survive. What happened? Russia came out of it really glorious. They have paid for it, obviously,
Yes.
but they didn't do in every which respect, militarily, politically, economically, region-wise, whatever. And they have lost. They have lost the game. And in fact, NATO and NATO allies are so irrelevant now. They are irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. And this Zelensky jerk just goes around. He's a comedian, for God's sake. He's not a president. He could have had a much better deal 4 years ago or 3 years ago. He could have it. But now, every year that passes, they wish they had their position of the year before. This is horrible. And I hope the same thing happened to Iran in
Just
attacking
one
Iran.
question. Why didn't Americans sanction, American by extension European, but we both know America plays the major role. Why didn't Americans sanction work on Russia? This is a very interesting question. Why couldn't they bring Russia down with the enormous sanctions they exercise, economic sanctions on Russian Federation?
Well, Russia is a great power with so much good, great resources, and you have to also credit Putin and his regime. This is not worshiping him because I'm not praising him, but you have to give credit for credit is due and compare Russian reaction to the sanction to Iran.
Oh,
They did it so competently.
yeah, of
The
course.
Iranian government, because of its whatever, I mean, without getting into too much detail, was incompetent and it still is. They did not restructure, they did not, on many, many, many aspects, they didn't do what they had to do.
Yeah,
And they are still not doing it in some ways.
yes,
It's just ironic that they could have been closer to China, they could have been closer to Russia, they could have cooperated better, they could have created some buffer zone for themselves, they could have many things that they could have done, and they still waiting. They were waiting for negotiating and a better outcome. It's just not competence has a lot to do with it because not everything you can blame on foreign powers. Foreign powers and foreign enemies and NATO and sanctions are very, very heavy. It's very hard
yes,
and difficult to get out of it. So two factors to answer. One, the incompetence and misunderstanding and misinformation and of the Iranian government, but at the same time, another piece is that Russia is not Iran. Russia is a great nuclear power.
of course.
Iran is not.
Yes,
So Russia, not too many people can just really go head to head with Russia, but with Iran, they have done it. They can do it, and that's why some people in Iran, some Iranian experts say, the only solution to Iranian problem, this dilemma of being, sanctioned to death, literally until collapse and the breakdown of the country, make nuclear weapon.
yeah, I heard
Hell
that.
with it. And of course, there is counter argument to that,
Mm.
that you can become North Korea, but North Korea has survived.
It is.
Iran may not survive as the same territory if this doesn't go well. And if it doesn't go well, it will never rise up to be powerful. This is what Reza Pahlavi should listen to and understand, that breaking of Iran may never be able to put it back together again if it breaks, if it gets broken.
Yeah,
Not to mention civil war that may last 30 years.
yeah, yeah.
It is
Unfortunately.
a very dark, dark, dark lose-lose situation. And these idiots that do not know anything about just about anything. I saw a sign. I saw a sign that it says something like "No Islam" or something anti-Islamophobic idea. And I'm pretty. I'm not a religious person at all. Believe me, I'm not. But how can you possibly go to a war with an idea?
Nothing. No way. No way.
Do you see the idea of walking in the street? Do you shoot it? Do you imprison it? What do you do with it?
Nothing you can
And
do.
why would you do that? Why would you choose that battle?
I don't even understand.
Why? Why? Let's say 10% of Iranians are devout Muslims. Why would you want to just antagonize them? What's the purpose? You want to make the country totally mechanically scientific? Why would you want to do that if you really do believe in science and secularism? I mean, the things that they say is just, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. Just one more aspect of Donroe Doctrine, if I may call, so I always come back to it. What is the situation, a consideration of Taiwan? What do you think what the current administration in the US looks at this? It has been going on for all the time, as I remember, right?
Well, the question of Taiwan goes back all the way to World War II and right after independence of China. And I don't think China actually want to make. I personally don't know. I'm not an expert on China, but I think China is very happy with the way things are going.
It
They,
seems
they
so, yes.
and of course it's very costly. And the more they cost, the more they cause the United States to just pivot to China and have more armada there and protect Taiwan out of this threat, this ridiculous threat, to protect it from a Chinese invasion. The costlier it is for US, the better it is for China because Taiwan can't even survive with China. The biggest trading partner of Taiwan is China.
It's China,
The
yeah.
largest segment of its working population is Chinese. If Chinese citizens or China doesn't allow its Chinese citizens to go to Taiwan, the whole economy collapses. This is a fake war that is costing US imperialism, and of course it's the benefit of the military industrial complex in US, but it is ridiculous notion. It wouldn't make any difference whether Taiwan is under the actual jurisdictions of mainland China or not, because you're not going to win a military war with China or Taiwan. It's ridiculous notion, and everyone knows it. But ideology is, like I said, we cannot dismiss ideology as a construct in so
No,
many different ways.
absolutely.
Ideology or theology doesn't matter, whatever, our human construct that sometimes really gets disconnected from reality.
No, absolutely. Just the last question, Professor Sharifi, for all these interesting topics we have expanded and explained to our viewers. Do you think in today's world, United States has, of course, aircraft carriers, lots of important, let's say, Air Force. Do you think really you can go to war in today's world where there are so many missiles, there are so many, I mean, drones, and then practice your military power the same you did like 20, even 20, 30 years ago?
It's very costly. It's very costly, and it's a lose-lose situation. If I was someone, and US is has the card here. US is in driver's seat. Iranian government does not want to go to war. It's a losing war for it.
Yes.
It can't afford it.
Yes.
But so unfortunately, this is not an equal situation. It's like the difference between Israeli government and Hamas. They're not at war with each other. One is a great power with all kind of military. The other one is bunch of ragtag army with knives and machine guns and very light weapons.
Yes.
So in Iran, it's not as bad, but it's still, it's not matching military power, but it's a losing situation for US too, because like I said, destroying many of the Iranian military capability is hard. But remember, US military could not defeat the ragtag army of the Taliban.
They
They
couldn't.
couldn't.
They couldn't.
It
No.
took them 20 years.
No.
And if they couldn't do it, the same thing in Vietnam. They couldn't do it in Iraq. If it wasn't for Iran, they couldn't even defeat ISIS. It was
Yes.
Iranian soldiers that actually defeated ISIS.
Yes.
So don't tell me. I mean, it doesn't really. You don't need to be Einstein, a rocket scientist, to figure out that and U.S. cannot control Iran with its troop. It can destroy it, but what's gonna happen? They think that this is gonna go. They're not gonna benefit from it. It's gonna sow chaos everywhere, including all of the Gulf state and Turkey. Wars tend to travel, and it will travel. It's not a good, from a humanist perspective. This is not a good strategies, and the idiots in Washington should stop this. They should actually work with Iran, even from an imperialistic point of view. If they want a better relationship with Iran and they want to just impede China's progress the way they should really right away work with Iran. There is no conflict of interest
No.
between Iran,
And look.
and work with the government. And in fact, the Iranian people, I say this to all the people, Iranian people that hate this regime. Let them hate it all they want. But if you really want to change it, it's you better off, and you have more of a chance of changing it by, in fact, having peaceful situation in Iran.
I agree.
Because everything is changeable. Even this regime is changeable. But you can't just overthrow it and bring another military by military means and hope for the better. Your best hope, of course, again, the driver's seat, unfortunately, is in Washington. It's better to work with the Iranian government and in many, many ways. And Iranian people work, in fact, peacefully push to change their own government.
Yeah.
Two different things,
Yes. Absolutely.
and that is the key to nonviolence, mass movement that can bring substantive change, which is good for Iran, not a few in sitting in America and wanting to benefit from it.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is the solution,
Yes. And one thing which is
but
also
that's
very
not going to happen.
surprising, excuse me, surprising to me, some years ago when I was in Kish Island, and then when you looked at the Persian Gulf firsthand, when I looked at it, this is very shallow water. I mean, what kind of maneuver can they do on that and this Persian Gulf? I mean, it's very shallow. Can they really? I don't even know what they can do there. You're right.
Are you talking about the U.S. military?
Yes, U.S. military.
Well, the Persian Gulf is not. It's really created from a strategic point of view. Persian Gulf is a liability to U.S.
Okay.
But that's why the minute there is a tension, they leave Persian Gulf and they go to Indian Ocean.
Ah, okay.
Be so far away from the harm, because
Yeah.
the Iranian can fight better on their own ground, which is Persian Gulf is a part and parcel of their territory. That's why right now we have this Lincoln air carrier parked in Indian Ocean, and they're not going to come closer. They're not going to go. They are 700 kilometers away.
Yes.
And being 700 kilometers away from the shores of Iran, and even farther from Tehran and all that, it creates problem and also advantages. The advantages is that they can't be shot and they can't be attacked easily.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you are farther away, you need a whole lot more fuel to get where you want to get, and also you have more chance of getting shot down, and it becomes more difficult. So they're weaker by so so strategically. Iran has some advantages and some have some obviously mechanical and technical and power disadvantages. And a war always every war writes its own rules. No general that is worth his star or her stars like to predict wars. Wars create their own dynamics, and we don't know what's going to happen. I personally don't think change by war in regime in Iran or in the strategy of the US is not a good thing to do. It's not. We can't, and nobody can afford it at this time. It shouldn't happen. It should not happen. It should be off the table.
I just said last question, but I really have one last question because I'm really interested. I would like to know these tariffs, US now putting this tariff on that on another country, is it also part of Donroe policy or doctrine?
No. Donroe was about military, and tariff has always been obviously a political, violent tool. But tariff has been used also legally in some sense. But sanctions, especially third-party sanction like U.S. has on Iran, or by international law, it's illegal. More than illegality of it, it's immoral.
Yes.
More than immorality and unethical part of it is anti-Iranian. People that are pushing for sanction on Iran, and they are Iranians, they really should change their name because they're not really Iranian. Because sanctions, the target of sanction is always sanctions, are always the people. And the idea, the sadistic idea, which is collective punishment, is that let me punish people so badly so they suffer so much, they die so much, so many of them, they get sick, so they rise up against the regime. And it makes it to be legitimate because the means doesn't mean anything. The ends just justifies this criminal, unethical, immoral, unproductive uh, kind of logic. But the irony is, no country has been brought down by sanction. And Cuba is one.
Yeah.
North Korea is another. Iran is another for 40. Yes, it makes people suffer. And at the same time, it forces the regime to grow even a thicker shell around itself. It becomes more militaristic. Not only the people don't, the people obviously suffer, but when you have a harder shell, it's harder to change.
Harder to change.
And these are the calculations that are made not by calculation is a misnomer for that. These are rash emotional decisions that people do to make themselves feel good, like they say, oh my God, I'm sick of this regime, I'm not good, I'm not this, that, the other, it's not reformable, it's bad, it's okay. All of that, let's just assume all of that is true. But why do you want to make it worse? Why do you want to make, if you have an enemy, let me ask you something. If you have an enemy which has knife and what all kind of weapons, don't you want to disarm him? Don't you want to make him somewhat softer?
Yes.
Don't you want to make him reformable? Don't you want to somehow, some way create some kind of dialogue, weaken them? Don't you want to strengthen yourself? In no country in the world, revolution can happen without the middle class. Sanction destroys the middle class. So, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Workers don't revolt,
They don't.
peasants don't revolt.
They
They
don't.
don't have the money to do it. They have to deal with their daily survival. All those people that were in the streets of Tehran are the people who are better off.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so why don't you get and most of them are very very young people that don't remember anything and don't know anything. Come on, how do you want to rule? How many times do you have to learn? Read your own history. Anyway, I think we just went a lot longer than you thought or I thought, and
Yes. Thank you very much. It was very
I
interesting.
don't know if this conversation can even be broadcast. It became almost an hour and a half. It's just too much. But
No problem at all. I really appreciate all your insights. It was very nice. Thank you very much, Professor Sharifi. I wish you
okay,
a nice day and hopefully see you soon on our channel then. Thank you.
okay, thanks.
Bye bye.